The scream ripped through Annabella's house like a siren. She dropped her purse, kicked off her heels, and ran, taking the stairs 2 at a time, heart pounding so hard she could taste copper in her mouth. That sound, that impossible, beautiful, terrifying sound, was coming from Maya's bedroom. Her daughter, her 7-year-old daughter who'd been deaf since birth, who'd never made a single noise, not a cry, not a laugh, nothing, until now. Annabella hit the doorway at full speed and her entire world stopped. A homeless man on his knees next to her daughter. Skeletal, filthy, reeking of the street. His coat held together with duct tape and what looked like staples. And his hands, his dirty, trembling hands, were buried deep in Maya's ear, pulling something out with tweezers. Something that was still moving. Hey, quick pause. I started this channel because I was tired of seeing us treated like extras in our own stories. Black folks, brown folks, anyone who doesn't fit the Hollywood mold, we're either stereotypes or we're invisible. I wanted to change that. Black Voices Untold is where real people get real stories. Complex, flawed, powerful, human. If you're looking for something authentic, something that doesn't talk down to you, something that will strike an emotion, you're home. If the story hits different, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Keeps the lights on and tells me I'm not shouting into the void. Alright, let's get back to it. 3 weeks earlier. There's nothing more we can do for Maya. Dr. Harrison delivered the death sentence from behind his mahogany desk. Diplomas from Harvard and Johns Hopkins framed like trophies on the wall behind him. His office smelled like leather and money and the particular kind of arrogance that came with charging $3,000 for a consultation. Annabella felt something crack inside her chest. 14 specialists, 7 years, $3 million down the drain. And every single one of them said the same damn thing. Maya sat beside her in the fancy chair, 7 years old and gorgeous, playing with her kaleidoscope like none of this mattered. Like she didn't know her mother was breaking into smaller and smaller pieces with every appointment. The bilateral sensorineural hearing loss is complete and permanent, Dr. Harrison continued, using that voice doctors reserved for grieving parents and lost causes. We've tried cochlear implants, gene therapy, the experimental treatment in Zurich. Nothing's worked because nothing can work. The auditory structures simply aren't functional. Annabella's nails bit into her palms. So we try something else. Ms. Washington. He took off his glasses, rubbed the bridge of his nose. Performance sympathy. She'd seen it before. At some point, continuing to chase a cure becomes harmful. Maya needs to learn to thrive as she is. Deaf culture is rich and vibrant. She should be embracing that community, not being taught she's broken and needs fixing. Something hot and dangerous rose in Annabella's throat. You don't get to tell me how to raise my daughter. I'm giving you medical advice. You're giving up. That's what you're doing. She stood, gathering Maya's things. And I'm not paying $3,000 to hear you quit. Dr. Harrison's expression went cold. You're in denial. And that denial is hurting your child more than her deafness ever could. The words hit like a slap. Annabella grabbed Maya's hand and walked out without another word, because if she opened her mouth again, she'd say something that couldn't be taken back. Something that would probably get her kicked out of this whole bougie medical building. Outside, Manhattan was doing what Manhattan did best. Screaming. Car horns. Sirens. Someone's radio blasting from a bodega. A street preacher yelling about the end times. A saxophone player busking outside the subway entrance. The whole city was a symphony, and Maya couldn't hear a single note. Annabella's phone was already out, fingers flying across the screen, Googling pediatric audiologist NYC specialist. Because Dr. Harrison was number 14, there had to be a 15. A 16. Someone who hadn't given up before they even tried. She wasn't looking where she was going. The delivery van came out of nowhere, running a red light, doing at least 40, heading straight for her like a missile. She looked up too late, feet frozen to the sidewalk. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Hands grabbed her coat and yanked her backward hard enough to make her teeth click together. She crashed into a body that smelled like 3 months of sleeping rough. Unwashed skin and old clothes and rain-soaked cardboard. The van missed her by maybe 6 inches. Close enough to feel the displaced air. Close enough to see the driver's face, eyes wide with horror. Close enough to die. Her heart was trying to punch through her ribcage. You gotta watch where you're going. The voice was rough, broken, like someone had taken gravel and taught it to talk. Annabella turned to thank whoever had just saved her life and froze. The man was a walking corpse. White, maybe 30-something but looking 60, drowning in a coat that was 3 sizes too big and held together with duct tape. His beard was matted with filth. His hair hung in greasy ropes. His face was so gaunt she could see the skull underneath. But his eyes, God, his eyes were the clearest, brightest blue she'd ever seen, like pieces of sky that didn't belong in that ruined face. Can't help your daughter if you're dead, he said. Then, before Annabella could respond, before she could ask how the hell he knew about Maya, he melted into the Fifth Avenue crowd like smoke. Gone. Maya tugged her sleeve, signing with small hands. Who was that man, Mama? I don't know, baby. I don't know. But those words stuck in her head like a song she couldn't shake. Can't help your daughter if you're dead. Annabella had come home early from another useless appointment. Dr. Rodriguez, specialist number 15, who'd basically repeated everything Dr. Harrison said, but with a different accent and a higher price tag. She was exhausted, defeated, ready to pour herself 3 fingers of whiskey and cry in the shower where Maya wouldn't see. That's when she heard it. A voice, male, coming from upstairs, from Maya's bedroom. Every hair on Annabella's body stood up. She grabbed her phone, already dialing 911 but not hitting send yet, and ran toward the stairs, climbing them 2 at a time. The voice was low, gentle, speaking words she couldn't quite make out. Her hand found the pepper spray in her purse. She ran up the stairs. She almost fell, her heart trying to escape through her throat. The voice got clearer. Just stay real still for me, sweetheart. I know this feels weird, but I promise you're okay. Just a few more seconds and I'll have it out. You're being so brave. Annabella hit the doorway, and her brain short-circuited. The homeless man from Fifth Avenue was leaning over Maya. His filthy coat hung open. His hands, covered in street grime, held a pair of tweezers buried deep in her daughter's ear. Maya sat perfectly still on her bed, head tilted, eyes wide but strangely calm, like she trusted this stranger, like this was normal. Get away from her! Annabella lunged forward, phone in one hand, pepper spray in the other, ready to burn this man's eyes out of his skull. Don't! His voice stayed steady, didn't even flinch. Those blue eyes never left Maya's ear. Move right now and this thing goes deeper. She'll be dead by midnight. I'm calling the police. Call them after. The tweezers moved microscopically. Surgical precision. Right now, I need you to stay exactly where you are and let me save your daughter's life. How did you get in my house? Back door doesn't latch. There's a gap about yay wide. He held up his free hand, showing maybe half an inch. 5th grader with a library card could pop it open. You really need to fix that. Annabella's finger hovered over the call button. Every instinct was screaming. Predator. Danger. Get him away from Maya now. But something stopped her. Maybe the gentleness in his voice. Maybe the way Maya wasn't struggling or crying. Maybe those words from 3 weeks ago. Can't help your daughter if you're dead. Almost there. The man murmured to Maya. You're doing amazing, sweetheart. Just hold on for me. The tweezers started to emerge. Slowly. So slowly Annabella could count her heartbeats between millimeters. And between the metal tips she could see something. Something pale. Segmented. about 2 inches long, moving. Annabella's stomach tried to crawl up her throat. What is that? The man didn't answer. The tweezers cleared Maya's ear canal completely. He moved fast, crossed to the small trash can beside Maya's desk, dropped whatever was on the tweezers inside, pulled out a cheap plastic lighter and set the whole thing on fire. The smell hit immediately. Burning plastic mixed with something organic and deeply wrong. Something that smelled like rot and death and things that shouldn't exist inside living bodies. Maya's small hands flew to her ear. Her face twisted, confusion and discomfort and something else. Her mouth opened wide, and she screamed. Not silent. Not the soundless crying Annabella had witnessed 1,000 times over 7 years. This was noise. Actual, audible, real noise that tore through the room and shattered every certainty Annabella had built her life around. Maya! Annabella shoved past the homeless man, pulled her daughter into her arms. Maya was shaking, tears streaming down her brown cheeks, her small body trembling with shock. But she was making sounds, crying sounds, real crying that Annabella could actually hear. After 7 years of silence, her daughter was screaming. It's okay, baby, it's okay, Annabella whispered, rocking her. Even though nothing was okay, nothing made any sense. Mama's here. I've got you. The homeless man stepped back, his whole body shaking like he'd just finished a marathon. Sweat dripped down his gaunt face despite the cool air. His hands trembled as he wiped them on his filthy coat. She can hear now, he said quietly. The words didn't register. Annabella looked up at him, her brain still catching up. What? Your daughter, Maya. She can hear. He gestured toward the still smoking trash can. That thing was blocking everything, living inside her ear canal for years, growing, pressing against her eardrum, suffocating every single sound that tried to get through. That's impossible. You're holding her while she cries out loud. You tell me what's impossible. He was right. Maya was making sounds. Small hiccuping sounds as she sobbed into Annabella's shoulder. Sounds Annabella could actually hear. Real sounds. 14 doctors examined her, Annabella said, her voice shaking. 14 specialists. MRIs, CT scans, genetic testing. They all said her auditory nerves were damaged. They said it was permanent. They looked at scans, at nerve pathways, at genetic markers. The man's voice was tired, so tired. Nobody actually looked inside her ear. Not really. They saw what they expected to see. Nerve damage, structural problems. They never thought to check for something living in there. What was it? Bot fly larva. Otomyasis, if you want the technical term. He moved toward the window, his movements jerky. Probably got in when she was an infant. Could have been at a park, a picnic, anywhere outdoors. The fly laid eggs near her ear. The larva crawled in when it hatched. Found a nice warm place to grow. Annabella felt bile rise in her throat. For 7 years? They can live that long if conditions are right. Feeding off ear wax, dead skin cells, whatever it could find. Growing slowly, pressing harder against the eardrum as it got bigger. Blocking sound transmission completely. He climbed onto the windowsill. The fire escape beyond creaked. Another few days and it would have reached her brain. She'd have started seizing, then hemorrhaging. Then, he didn't finish. Didn't need to. Who are you? Annabella demanded. How did you know? Name's Ethan. Ethan Cole. Those blue eyes met hers. And I knew because I see things. Things that haven't happened yet. That's insane. Probably. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. But your deaf daughter is hearing right now, so maybe insane isn't so bad. He started down the fire escape. Wait! Annabella stood, still holding Maya. You can't just... You broke into my house, you. I saved her life. Ethan paused on the metal grating. Get her to a real doctor. Tell them about the parasite. They won't want to believe you, but make them check. And Ms. Washington, he looked back one more time. Fix that back door. Next time it might not be me breaking in. Then he was gone, disappearing down the fire escape like a ghost, leaving nothing but the smell of burning trash and the sound of Maya's breathing. Loud, real, impossible breathing. Maya pulled back from Annabella's embrace. Her small hands touched her ears like they were foreign objects. Her mouth opened, and a tiny voice, rough from never being used, but real, so impossibly real, whispered, "Mama!" The word detonated in Annabella's chest. 7 years. 7 years of silence, shattered by one whispered word. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Unknown number. Text message. "She'll need antibiotics. Infection risk is high. And fix that door." Dr. Chen's examination room smelled like antiseptic and disbelief. In 23 years of pediatric medicine, I have never seen anything like this. Dr. Chen pulled back from examining Maya's ear, her expression cycling between confusion and wonder. There's definite trauma here. Scarring. Inflammation. Clear evidence something foreign was removed from the ear canal. "But you see it," Annabella pressed, holding Maya's hand tight. "You see proof." "Oh, I see proof something was in there. What I don't see is how." Dr. Chun pulled off her examination gloves. A parasitic larva living in a child's ear for 7 years? Undetected through multiple MRIs, CT scans, examinations by some of the best specialists in the country. But she can hear now. It was true. Maya sat on the examination table, head swiveling toward every sound. The clock ticking on the wall, Dr. Chen's pen clicking, the hum of the fluorescent lights, traffic noise from outside. Each sound was a revelation, a miracle she was experiencing for the first time. The audiological testing confirmed significant hearing restoration. "Yes," Dr. Chan said slowly, "but the mechanism, I need to send tissue samples to the lab. Document this properly. This could be groundbreaking." Annabella barely heard her. She was watching Maya, watching her daughter discover sound like other children discovered walking. Every noise was magic. "Mama," Maya whispered again, her voice getting stronger. "I can hear your heart beating." Tears blurred Annabella's vision. "I know, baby. I know." Dr. Chun wrote prescriptions, antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, follow-up appointments. Keep her away from loud noises for a few days. Her auditory system will be hypersensitive while her brain learns to process sound. "And Ms. Washington," she paused, "whoever removed that larva, they saved your daughter's life. The positioning, the depth. Another few days and we'd be having a very different conversation." The words confirmed what Ethan had said. Maya would have died. That night, after Maya finally crashed, overwhelmed by a full day of sounds, Annabella sat in her kitchen, staring at her phone. The unknown number. The cryptic text. Who was Ethan Cole? How did he know? And what did he mean about seeing things that hadn't happened yet? Her phone buzzed again. "Same number. You have questions. I have answers. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., Central Park. Bethesda Fountain. Come alone. You're safe. Promise." Ethan. Every rational thought screamed no. Screamed danger, stranger danger. This is how women end up on Dateline. But he'd saved her on Fifth Avenue. He'd saved Maya yesterday. He knew impossible things. Annabella looked toward Maya's room, where her daughter slept peacefully, dreaming sounds for the first time in her life. She made her decision. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., she'd get her answers. Central Park in October was postcard perfect. Golden leaves, cool air, tourists everywhere taking selfies with the fountain. Annabella stood near Bethesda Fountain, pepper spray in her pocket, phone on speed dial to 911, scanning faces for those impossible blue eyes. "Ms. Washington," she spun. Ethan stood maybe 5 feet away, somehow invisible until he spoke. Still filthy, still drowning in that taped-together coat. But in daylight, she could see details she'd missed before. The way his clothes, despite being held together with duct tape, were arranged with care. The way his beard, though matted, was trimmed around his mouth. The way he stood military straight despite the starvation. How did you know? No preamble, no small talk. About the parasite, about Maya, about me on Fifth Avenue. Can we walk? His voice was quieter than she remembered. Gentler. People stare when I stand still too long. Makes everyone uncomfortable. They walked along the path circling the fountain. Ethan kept his hands in his coat pockets, eyes down, making himself small. I see things, he said finally. Futures that haven't happened yet. Started after Afghanistan. IED explosion 2018. Knocked me into a coma. 2 weeks gone. When I woke up, he trailed off. Everything was different. Different how? I could see moments before they happened. Seconds, sometimes minutes. Once, a whole day, he kicked at a pebble. Saved my unit twice before the army discharged me. They discharged you for saving lives? They discharged me for being crazy. Bitterness edged his voice. Post-traumatic stress, they said. Combat-induced psychosis. Nobody believes you when you see the future. Not the army. Not the VA doctors. Not family. Annabella studied him. Every instinct said trauma, delusion, mental illness. But Maya could hear. That was real. So you saw the van 3 weeks ago. Saw you die. Saw Maya growing up with your sister. Still deaf. Still suffering. His jaw clenched. Saw funeral. Saw myself watching from across the street. Knowing I could have stopped it. Knowing I was too scared to try. But you tried anyway. Couldn't let you die. Not when I knew what came after. What came after? Ethan stopped walking. Those blue eyes, so clear, so certain, met hers. 3 days ago, I had a vision. Saw Maya seizing in her bed. Saw the parasite reaching her brain. Saw you finding her body. His voice cracked. Saw her funeral. Small coffin. You screaming. Blaming yourself. Destroyed. The words hit like a physical blow. When? Last night. If I hadn't acted yesterday, Maya would have started seizing around 10 p.m. Dead by 3 a.m. Annabella's legs felt weak. Her baby, her Maya, had been hours from death. How did you know about the parasite? The vision showed me what was inside her ear, showed me exactly where to find it, how to extract it. He started walking again. I've learned to trust the visions, even when they sound crazy, especially then. Why help us? Why risk breaking into my house? Risking arrest? Because I can. Simple. Direct. I see people die every day. Car accidents. Heart attacks. Random violence. And I can't save them all. Can't be everywhere. Can't convince everyone I'm not insane. His hands curled into fists in his pockets. But I saw your daughter. Saw I could save her. Had to try. They walked in silence for a while. Around them, the park hummed with normal life. Joggers. Dog walkers. Kids playing. People who didn't see the future. Didn't know about parasites living in children's ears. What happened to you? Annabella asked quietly. After Afghanistan. Ethan's expression went distant. Came home different. Started having visions. Tried to tell people, my commanding officer, VA doctors, my family. Nobody believed me. They thought it was PTSD. Put me on meds that made everything worse. He paused. Tried to warn people about things I saw. A fire at the VA hospital. A training accident. A car crash. They called me delusional. Paranoid. Dangerous. But you were right. Every time. Fire happened exactly like I said. Training accident killed a private 3 months later. Car crash took out a family of 4. His voice went flat. But nobody remembers the warnings. They only remember that I was crazy. Your family gave me a choice. Get real help. Meaning admit the visions weren't real, or find somewhere else to live. He looked at his hands. Been on the streets for 3 years. Annabella felt something twist in her chest. This man, this broken, impossible man, had lost everything trying to save people who wouldn't believe him. I have a guest house, she heard herself say. Behind my brownstone. Small, private, empty. Ethan stopped walking, stared at her. What? You saved my life. You saved Maya's life. You're living on the street. She pulled out a business card, wrote her address on the back. It's not charity. Call it payment, or insurance, or whatever makes it okay for you to accept. You don't know me. I could be dangerous. You had me and Maya alone yesterday. Could have done anything. Instead you saved her and climbed out a window. Annabella pressed the card into his filthy hand. Be there tomorrow. Noon. There's a shower, clean clothes in the closet, food. We'll figure out the rest. Why? Because 14 specialists failed my daughter and you saw what they missed. Because maybe I need someone around who sees things before they happen. Because... She looked at this broken man who'd pulled her from death and her daughter from silence. Because you deserve better than dying on the street while saving everyone else. Ethan stared at the card like it might vanish. What if I fail you? What if the visions stop being accurate? Then you fail. But you're here now. That's enough. The next day at noon, Annabella watched from her kitchen window as Ethan approached the guest house. He moved carefully, like he expected the ground to disappear. Stopped at the door 3 times before finally knocking. Even though she'd told him it was unlocked. Even though she'd said it was his. She gave him space. Let him explore on his own. The guest house was small bedroom, bathroom, kitchenette, but compared to 3 years on the street, it was probably a palace. An hour later, she knocked on his door with a bag of groceries. The man who answered looked different. Still thin, still haunted, but clean. He'd showered, shaved, found clothes in the closet that almost fit. Without the beard and grime, she could see he was younger than she'd thought. Mid-30s, and underneath the starvation, handsome in a broken kind of way. Thank you, he signed in perfect ASL. Then, seeing her surprise, had a sister, Emily. She was deaf. Learned to sign for her. What happened to her? Meningitis. While I was in Afghanistan. She died alone in a hospital. His hands moved with practiced grace. When I see Maya, I see Emily. See a chance I don't deserve. Annabella set down the groceries. You deserve a lot more than you think you do. Over the next week, a routine developed. Ethan stayed in the guest house, mostly keeping to himself. Mornings, Annabella would find him doing yard work, trimming hedges, raking leaves, fixing things around the property. Afternoons, when Maya came home from school, he'd sit with her in the living room, teaching her to understand sounds. This is a doorbell, he'd say, pressing the button. Maya would watch his lips, feel the vibrations, hear the sound. Her brain slowly learning to connect sight and sound and meaning. This is laughter. He'd pull up videos on his phone. Maya would watch people laughing, hear the sounds, her face lighting up with wonder. This is music. He'd play different genres. Jazz, classical, hip-hop, country. Maya would close her eyes, swaying slightly, learning that sounds could be beautiful. Annabella watched from doorways, from the kitchen, her heart full and breaking simultaneously. This stranger, this impossible homeless man, was giving her daughter the world. But the visions didn't stop. 2 weeks after moving in, Ethan knocked on Annabella's door at 2 in the morning. She answered in her robe, heart racing, immediately thinking Maya. She's fine, Ethan said quickly, reading her face. But I need to tell you something. Had a vision tonight. They sat in her kitchen. Ethan's hands shook as he held the coffee she'd made. Your ex, he said. Maya's father. Jerome. Annabella's spine went rigid. What about him? He's coming back. Not for Maya. For you. Ethan stared into his coffee. Sees your success, thinks he can get a piece. Going to show up in 3 days, ask for joint custody. Threaten to drag you through court. Let him try. He abandoned us. He's going to claim you're unstable. Point to all the specialists, all the money spent chasing cures. Paint you as obsessed. Neglectful. Ethan's blue eyes met hers. And Annabella? In some futures, he wins. Gets partial custody. Uses Maya for his new business venture. Some biotech startup focused on pediatric hearing loss. She becomes his prop for investor meetings. Rage flooded Annabella's system. Over my dead body. That's why I'm telling you. So you can prepare. Get ahead of it. He set down his coffee. I can help. Let me meet him. 5 minutes. I'll know his real motivations. Give you ammunition. You do that. I see futures, remember? I know how this plays out if you go in blind. Let me help. 3 days later, Jerome Washington showed up in his Tesla. Designer suit, practice smile. Everything about him screamed success and calculated charm. Annabella met him at the door. Didn't invite him in. Bella. His smile was warm. Fake. You look good. What do you want, Jerome? To see my daughter. To be involved in her life again. He glanced past her. I heard about the medical breakthrough. That's amazing. I want to be part of her journey. Her journey started 7 years ago. You weren't interested then. I made mistakes. I'm different now. I want joint custody. Want to be a real father. No. His expression hardened. Then we'll let the courts decide. And Bella? They're going to ask about all those specialists. All that money. All those failed treatments. Going to look like obsession. Like instability. Before Annabella could respond, Ethan appeared from around the side of the house. Still thin but clean now. Presentable. Jerome's eyes narrowed. Who's this? Ethan Cole. I'm helping with Maya's auditory therapy. Ethan extended a hand. Jerome shook it reluctantly. The moment their hands touched, Ethan's expression went distant. Blank. Like he was seeing something far away. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Then he released Jerome's hand and smiled. Nice to meet you. Annabella's told me about you. After Jerome left, angry, threatening, promising court dates, Ethan turned to Annabella. He doesn't want custody, wants access, visitation rights, photo ops. Ethan's voice was flat. Planning to use Maya for a biotech startup. Needs a compelling story for investors. Father reconnecting with deaf daughter. Revolutionary treatment. He's already got pitch decks made. How do you know? Saw it when I touched him. Saw his next 6 months. The startup. The investor meetings. The way he uses Maya's story without caring about Maya. Ethan's jaw clenched. Saw him telling people he never abandoned her. That you kept her from him. Annabella felt sick. What do I do? You fight. But smart. Get a good lawyer. Document everything, his 3-year absence, the lack of child support, the abandonment. I'll testify if needed. Tell them about the parasite, about how you kept searching when everyone said to give up. Show them you're not obsessed. You're devoted. Will it work? In most futures I see, yes. Jerome backs off when he realizes the fight will cost more than it's worth. But you have to be ready. She was ready. The custody hearing was brutal. Jerome's lawyer painted Annabella as unstable, obsessive, unable to accept reality. Brought up the 14 specialists, the $3 million, the experimental procedures. But Annabella's lawyer was better. Showed the 3-year abandonment, the lack of support, the fact that Maya was thriving now, hearing now because her mother never gave up. And when they called Ethan to the stand, he was devastating. Clean cut. articulate. He explained the parasite, the extraction, the medical documentation. Made it clear that Annabella's persistence had saved Maya's life. If she'd listened to the specialists, if she'd stopped searching, her daughter would be dead. Ethan said simply, "That's not obsession. That's love." Jerome lost, withdrew his petition, disappeared back to Atlanta with his tail between his legs. Outside the courthouse, Annabella turned to Ethan. "Thank you. You fought for her. I just showed up. You did more than that." 6 months later, Maya's 8th birthday party filled Annabella's backyard with sounds her daughter could finally enjoy. Kids laughing, music playing, the sound of her own voice singing along to the birthday song. Annabella watched from the porch, Ethan beside her. He looked different now. Healthy weight, clear eyes, peace in his face that hadn't been there before. "You saved her," Annabella said quietly. "We both did. You by never giving up. Me by seeing what nobody else saw." "What do you see now?" "For Maya's future." Ethan smiled. "I try not to look too far ahead anymore. Ruins the surprises. But," he paused, "she's going to be okay. More than okay. She's going to help other kids like her. Kids who everyone gave up on." "How?" "You'll see." Maya ran over, signing excitedly, "Mama, Mr. Ethan, come sing with me." They joined the party, sang off-key, ate too much cake, celebrated the miracle of a little girl who could hear. And later, after everyone left, after Maya crashed from sugar and excitement, Annabella found Ethan in the guest house. "I've been thinking," she said, "about starting a foundation for misdiagnosed kids. Kids with conditions that look like one thing but are actually another. Would you help run it?" Ethan looked stunned. "I'm not qualified. You see things others miss. You saved Maya. How many other kids are out there with parasites or blockages or simple problems that expensive specialists overlook?" She sat across from him. "Help me find them. Help me save them." "You'd trust me with that?" "I'd trust you with my life. Already have." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. The first time she'd seen him cry. "My whole life, since Afghanistan, I've been trying to prove I'm not crazy, that the visions mean something, that I can help." His voice broke. "Nobody ever believed me, until you. Then let's make sure other people believe too. Let's save the kids everyone else gives up on." The foundation launched 6 months later. Maya's voice, dedicated to finding misdiagnosed children with treatable conditions everyone else had labeled permanent. Ethan became the director of special investigations. His gift, once called madness, became the foundation's secret weapon. He'd meet children, touch their hands, see what doctors missed. A tumor pressing on auditory nerves, a bone fragment from a childhood fall, an infection so deep conventional scans couldn't find it. Things everyone else said were impossible. And one by one they helped kids hear again, walk again, speak again. The medical community called it luck, called it coincidence, called Ethan's success rate statistically improbable. But the families whose children were saved called it a miracle. 2 years after that first extraction, Annabella sat in her office at the foundation, reviewing case files. A knock on the door. Ethan entered, and she could see it in his face immediately. "You had a vision." "Yeah." He sat across from her. They'd developed this routine. He'd have visions. She'd help him figure out what to do with them. "There's a girl, 9 years old, Chicago. Doctors say she's got muscular dystrophy, progressive, terminal. But she doesn't. She's got a parasite, different kind, in her spinal column. It's mimicking the symptoms perfectly. She's got maybe 6 months before permanent damage." His hands clenched. "But if we get there now, it's a simple extraction. She'll walk again." Annabella was already reaching for her phone. "What's her name?" "Destiny Martinez. Family's been fundraising for experimental treatments. spent everything, about to lose their house. Get me on a flight to Chicago. Tonight, they saved Destiny. And after Destiny, they saved Marcus. After Marcus, they saved Aisha. After Aisha, they saved Danny. One by one, the impossible children became possible again. And Ethan, the homeless man everyone called crazy, became the man who saw miracles where everyone else saw endings. 3 years after moving into the guest house, Ethan knocked on Annabella's door on a Tuesday night. She answered, saw his face, knew immediately. Bad vision. Not bad. Just complicated. He came inside, sat on her couch. Maya was upstairs, probably FaceTiming with friends, living the loud, chaotic life of an 11-year-old who could finally hear. Tell me. I saw us. You and me. His blue eyes met hers. 5 years from now, the foundation's huge. We've saved over 200 kids. There's a documentary, awards, recognition. That's good. There's more. He paused. In that future, we're together, not just working together. Together. The air between them shifted. Oh, Annabella said quietly. I'm not saying we have to follow what I saw. Visions show possibilities, not certainties. We make our own choices. He stood, nervous energy making him pace. But I needed you to know, needed to be honest. Because over the last 3 years, watching you fight for these kids, watching you believe in me when nobody else would. He stopped. I fell in love with you, Annabella. And I needed you to know that before the future becomes the present and I run out of time to tell you. Annabella's heart was doing complicated things in her chest. Ethan, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. Needed to be honest. He moved toward the door. I'll see you tomorrow at the office. Wait. He turned back. Annabella stood, crossed the room, took his hands in hers. You want to know what I see? You don't have visions. No, but I see you. See who you really are. Not the homeless man everyone gave up on. Not the soldier everyone called crazy. I see the man who saved my daughter's life. Who saved my life. Who saved hundreds of children because you refused to stop believing your gift meant something. She squeezed his hands. I see the man I trust with everything that matters. And maybe I'm falling in love with that man too. Ethan's breath caught. Maybe, definitely. I'm definitely falling in love with you. He smiled, real, genuine, the kind of smile that transformed his whole face. So we're doing this? Following the vision? No, we're making our own future. The vision just gave us permission to stop being scared of it. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like she was something precious he'd spent years searching for. When they pulled apart, Maya's voice came from the stairs. Finally! I've been waiting forever for you two to figure that out. They both laughed. How long have you been listening? Annabella called up. Since Mr. Ethan said he loved you. Which duh. He's been looking at you like that for like 2 years. Maya appeared at the top of the stairs, grinning. Does this mean he's staying forever? Ethan looked at Annabella. She looked back. Yeah, baby, Annabella said. He's staying forever. 5 years later, Maya's voice foundation had grown into something neither of them could have imagined. Offices in 12 states, a staff of 40, over 400 children saved from misdiagnoses that would have killed them or left them permanently disabled. The medical community had stopped calling it luck, started calling it revolutionary, started actually listening when Ethan suggested looking beyond the obvious. And tonight, at a gala fundraiser in Manhattan, Annabella stood at the podium in a dress that cost more than her first car, looking out at donors and doctors and families whose children they'd saved. 7 years ago, she began, my daughter was deaf. 14 specialists told me to give up, to accept reality, to stop chasing impossible cures. The room was silent, but I couldn't give up. Because mothers don't give up on their children. We fight. We search. We refuse to accept that the people we love are beyond saving. She paused, found Ethan in the crowd. He was at a table with Maya, both of them watching her with identical expressions of pride. A homeless man saved my daughter's life. A man everyone had given up on. A man the world called crazy. He saw what 14 specialists missed. And in saving her, he taught me something crucial. The people society discards are often the ones with the most to give. Applause started, but she held up a hand. This foundation exists because one man refused to stop believing his gift mattered. Because one mother refused to stop fighting. Because one little girl deserved better than the future everyone said was inevitable. She looked directly at Ethan. We save impossible children because we believe impossible people are worth saving too. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. 10 years later, Maya graduated medical school at the top of her class, specialized in pediatric audiology and rare disorders, opened her own clinic in Harlem, 3 blocks from where her mother had once walked, desperate and broken, searching for specialist number 15. The clinic's mission statement hung in the lobby. We see what others miss. We believe when others give up. We save the impossible children. On opening day, Maya stood in the lobby with her mother and Ethan, her stepfather now, officially, though he'd been her father in every way that mattered for over a decade. Nervous, Annabella asked. Terrified, Maya admitted. What if I can't help them? What if I miss something? Ethan took her hand, closed his eyes. That distant look crossed his face, the one that meant he was seeing futures, possibilities, moments yet to come. He smiled. You're going to save 17 children in your first year, 23 the year after. By year 5, you'll have developed a new screening protocol that becomes the national standard. He opened his eyes. You're going to change everything, Maya. Just like your mother did. Just like you did, Maya corrected. She hugged him tight. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Thank you for teaching me that being different isn't being broken. That afternoon, Maya's first patient arrived. A 5-year-old boy, deaf since birth. Parents exhausted from specialist after specialist telling them nothing could be done. Maya examined him carefully, thoroughly, looking beyond the obvious, searching for what everyone else had missed. And there, deep in his left ear canal, she found it. A blockage. Small, overlooked, treatable. She removed it with tweezers, careful and gentle, just like Ethan had taught her. And the little boy heard his mother's voice for the first time in his life. Later, after the family left, crying, grateful, transformed, Maya texted her parents, "We saved one today, one impossible child. It's a start." Annabella texted back, "It's everything. So proud of you, baby." Ethan added, "You're going to change the world. I've seen it." Red heart. Maya smiled, saved the messages, and prepared for her next patient. Because the work was never done. The impossible children were still out there. And now there was one more person who refused to give up on them. Dear viewers, this story isn't really about miracles or psychic visions or parasites living in children's ears. It's about something simpler and harder. Refusing to give up on the people you love, even when everyone says you should. How many times have you been told to accept reality, to stop fighting, to let go, to understand that some things can't be fixed, some people can't be saved, some situations are just permanent? And how many times have those people been wrong? Annabella was told 14 times to give up on her daughter. 14 experts with fancy degrees and expensive equipment told her to accept the unacceptable. And if she'd listened, if she'd done the reasonable thing, Maya would have died. Killed by something simple that nobody bothered to look for because they were too busy being certain they already had the answer. Ethan was told his entire life that his gift was madness, that seeing the future was impossible, that he needed medication and therapy and to accept that his experiences weren't real. And if he'd listened, if he'd done the reasonable thing, hundreds of children would be dead or disabled right now. Lost to misdiagnoses that looked obvious until someone bothered to look deeper. Here's the truth they don't tell you. Sometimes the people society discards have the most to offer. Sometimes the crazy ones are the only ones seeing clearly. Sometimes the person everyone's given up on is exactly who you need. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes refusing to accept impossible is the only thing that saves lives. This isn't about ignoring medical advice or believing in magic. It's about understanding that experts can be wrong, that consensus can miss things, that love and persistence and refusing to quit sometimes accomplish what all the degrees and equipment in the world can't. It's about looking at the people society has labeled crazy, broken, hopeless, impossible, and asking, what if everyone's wrong about you? Because maybe that homeless person isn't just mentally ill. Maybe they see things you don't. Maybe that child everyone's given up on isn't beyond saving. Maybe nobody looked in the right place. Maybe that person you love isn't as broken as the experts say. Maybe they just need someone who refuses to stop fighting. I'm not saying believe every wild claim or ignore serious medical advice. I'm saying ask questions, push back, demand second opinions. Fight for the people you love especially when everyone says you should stop. Because the world needs more people like Annabella, who burned through $3 million and her own sanity refusing to accept her daughter was beyond help. The world needs more people like Ethan, who kept trying to save lives even after everyone called him crazy and took everything from him. The world needs more people who look at impossible and say, prove it. Your impossible might be a sick child, a struggling parent, a friend everyone's given up on, a dream everyone says is unrealistic, a gift everyone calls delusion. Don't give up on them. Don't give up on yourself. Look deeper, question harder, fight longer, because sometimes, not always, but sometimes the miracle is hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone stubborn enough to find it. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you want more stories that challenge what we accept as impossible. And comment below, what impossible thing are you refusing to give up on? Keep fighting. Keep believing. Keep looking for the miracles everyone else says don't exist. They're out there. Promise.